I have nothing to declare except my genius. You know, we poor artists have to show ourselves in society from time to time, just to remind the public that we are not savages. With an evening coat and a white tie, as you told me once, anybody, even a stockbroker, can gain a reputation for being civilized. A thing is not necessarily true because a man dies for it. The only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. Nowadays people marry as often as they can, don't they? It is most fashionable. There is no such thing as a moral or an immoral book. Books are well written, or badly written. That is all. People say sometimes that beauty is only superficial. That may be so, but at least it is not so superficial as thought is. To me, beauty is the wonder of wonders. It is only shallow people who do not judge by appearances. Life is too important to be taken seriously. Women are not meant to judge us, but to forgive us when we need forgiveness. Pardon, not punishment, is their mission. All women become like their mothers. That is their tragedy. That is his. Lady Chiltern is a woman of the very highest principles, I am glad to say. I am a little too old now, myself, to trouble about setting a good example, but I always admire people who do. The only way to get rid of temptation is to yield to it. Long engagements give people the opportunity of finding out each other's character before marriage, which is never advisable. Sooner or later in political life one has to compromise. Everyone does. You can forget. Men easily forget. And I forgive. That is how women help the world. I see that now. There are only two tragedies in life: not getting what you want, and getting it. One can always be kind to people about whom one cares nothing. I am sick to death of cleverness. Forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much. The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Art is the most intense mode of individualism that the world has known. I will love you always, because you will always be worthy of love. I have the simplest tastes. I am always satisfied with the best. I do not approve of anything that tampers with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate exotic fruit. Touch it and the bloom is gone. One should always be in love. That is the reason one should never marry. Even you are not rich enough to buy back your past. No man is. If I am occasionally a little overdressed, I make up for it by being always immensely over-educated. I really don't see what is so romantic about proposing. One may be accepted. One usually is, I believe, and then the excitement is ended. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. Circumstances should never alter principles. It is a terrible thing for a man to find out suddenly that all his life he has been speaking nothing but the truth. No one should be entirely judged by their past. The world is a stage, but the play is badly cast. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. Education is an admirable thing. But it is well to remember from time to time that nothing that is worth knowing can be taught. What seem to us a bitter trial are often blessings in disguise. We live in an age that reads too much to be wise, and that thinks too much to be beautiful. Modern morality consists in accepting the standard of one's age. I consider that for any man of culture to accept the standard of his age is a form of the grossest immorality. The good ended happily, and the bad unhappily. That is what fiction means. Anybody can sympathize with the sufferings of a friend, but it requires a very fine nature to sympathize with a friend's success. I delight in talking politics. I talk them all day long. But I can't bear listening to them. Consistency is the last refuge of the unimaginative. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. I am not young enough to know everything. Success is a science. If you have the conditions, you get the result. In matters of grave importance, style, not sincerity, is the vital thing. I like men who have a future and women who have a past. The books that the world calls immoral are books that show the world its own shame. A cynic is a man who knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. I hope you have not been leading a double life, pretending to be wicked and being good all the time. That would be hypocrisy. There is only one thing in life worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about. Nowadays, with our modern mania for morality, everyone has to pose as a paragon of purity, incorruptibility, and all the other 7 deadly virtues. And what is the result? You all go over like 9 pins, one after the other. The eyes of the happy prince were filled with tears, and tears were running down his golden cheeks. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight that the little swallow was filled with pity. I am jealous of everything whose beauty does not die. I am jealous of the portrait you have painted of me. Why should it keep what I must lose? Every moment that passes takes something from me and gives something to it. Oh, if it were only the other way. If the picture could change, and I could be always what I am now. Why did you paint it? It will mock me someday, mock me horribly. You are a wonderful creation. You know more than you think you know, just as you know less than you want to know. I can stand brute force, but brute reason is quite unbearable. There is something unfair about its use. It is hitting below the intellect. Ambition is the last refuge of the failure. One should absorb the color of life, but one should never remember its details. Details are always vulgar. I like persons better than principles, and I like persons with no principles better than anything else in the world. There are few things easier than to live badly and die well. I can resist anything except temptation. 35 is a very attractive age. London society is full of women of the very highest birth who have, of their own free choice, remained 35 for years. It is not the perfect, but the imperfect, who have need of love. I never put off till tomorrow what I can possibly do the day after. The public is wonderfully tolerant. It forgives everything except genius. All sins, except a sin against itself, love should forgive. True friends stab you in the front. Leaf after leaf of the fine gold he brought to the poor, and the children's faces grew rosier, and they laughed and played games in the street. Morality is simply the attitude we adopt towards people whom we personally dislike. I have never met any really wicked person before. I feel rather frightened. I am so afraid he will look just like everyone else. Experienced is simply the name we give our mistakes. Keep love in your heart. A life without it is like a sunless garden when the flowers are dead. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read in the train. Some cause happiness wherever they go, others whenever they go. To live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people exist, that is all.